So let's talk about promoting your best courses. And we'll also talk about the 80-20 principle and how it applies to your course business, okay? Now, there's a lot of valuable lectures in this section, all right? And some of them you might know a lot about already. So you might know the strategies and what's taught in the lectures. Some of them you might not know about, obviously. And there's some great insights and tips that can help you increase your income on these platforms. This lecture is one of those, okay? This lecture is not just going to help you increase your income in this Udemy course business or your course business on platforms outside of Udemy. This is going to help you increase your income in life and whatever endeavors you obviously, go through, as well as just increase your time and just your productivity in life, right? So pay attention. This is a good one. So when doing promotions, first and foremost, you can obviously promote other courses, right? You can promote new courses and you can promote courses that might not be doing as well as you hope they would. Typically, what I see a lot of creators doing is they promote courses equally, right? They treat every course equally, that with equal effort. They treat every student equally with equal effort. But that's not how you should approach it, right? We should focus on the 80-20 principle, and we'll talk about what that is specifically in depth and how it applies to you, your life, and your business here in a second. But in my opinion, your main focus should be promoting the courses that are your best sellers, your ranked courses, and courses that are currently doing well, okay? I would honestly rather have just a few courses that are selling well consistently and ranked consistently than be juggling like small sales on a large number of courses. I'd honestly rather have just 2 courses up on Udemy that are selling very, very, very well rather than have 100 courses that are selling mediocrely, right? And ideally, all your courses would sell well, right? And this is kind of the course creator dilemma, right? You spend all this time creating all these courses. Maybe you have 5 courses, maybe you have 10, maybe you have 50, right? Maybe you have 2, whatever. But you spend, all this time and they're kind of like your children and you want to love them all equally. And you want to kind of, give them all a chance to succeed in life in a weird way, right? But ultimately, you shouldn't look at it that way, even though they are kind of like your babies and you spend a lot of time creating them. What you should do is you should create them, create them as good as you potentially can. We've also talked about minimum viable product and how you should, you shouldn't spend a ridiculous amount of time before you actually launch a course because you should get real world market feedback. So what you should do is you should, make the course as great as possible, right? And constantly be focused on improving your courses, which is also something we talk about. But ultimately, you should look to the data and look to the numbers and look to the real world feedback for, feedback on what's working and what's not, right? What the market wants and what's working, you want to stick with. What the market doesn't want and what's not working, well, you obviously want to do a little bit less of that, right? And so that's why you need to focus on what's selling well. And, ideally you want to kind of get that snowball rolling. When something's doing well, you want to put more of your effort into it. If something's not doing well over a long period of time and you have enough data on it, obviously, well, then stop spending your time and stop spending your effort promoting that or creating more content for that. So I want to talk about the 80-20 principle really briefly in about a 5-minute segment here. So let's jump into that. So let's talk about the 80-20 principle and how it applies to your business. Now, if you have not read this book, go to Amazon right now and buy it immediately. And if you have read this book, obviously still pay attention to this short lecture. It's going to help you and it's going to help reframe, the purpose of your business, the purpose of your offer, and it will just be a great reminder for you, okay? But seriously, I really mean this. There's not many books that I highly recommend. Obviously, you can always go to brianguerra.com/books for the top ones that I recommend. But if you have not read the 80-20 principle, it's a short book. It's only, I think, like 200 pages. You can read it really, really quickly, and it's really going to change your perspective, okay? So what is the 80-20 principle? Well, basically what it states is that 20% of your effort drives about 80% of your results. And these numbers are not set in stone. They're kind of, moving and fluctuating. It might be 25% and 75%, like relatively close, right? It also might be like 90-10, but generally speaking, it's the 80-20 principle. So it basically says 20% of your effort drives about 80% of your results. 20% of your products probably account for about 80% of your profit margin. Although, on the other hand, 80% of your effort drives only 20% of your results, and 80% of your products probably account for about 20% of your profit only. So what does that mean? How does the 80-20 principle apply to you and your business? Well, first and foremost, you need to get clarity before you do anything on the 80-20 principle in your life and your business, all right? And chances are, if you read the book or if you just pay attention to this lecture afterwards, there's going to be certain things that are literally staring you in the face. I know the first time I read this book, I literally reframed a lot of the different things that I was doing on a day-to-day basis. And I looked at every single thing that I was doing and I was like, do I really need to do that? What value is that really bringing me or my customers? And a lot of things I could have literally just cut out. Now, that does not mean that you just cut things out automatically just for the sake of saying, hey, I do these, 10 things. I'm going to cut eight of them out because Brian said only do 2 of them at, 20%. Like, that's not what I'm saying. You need to get clarity on the important things. Okay. That said, once you do get clarity, chances are there will be, a bunch of things staring you in the face. And that's going to be kind of, really eye-opening. And it means that you should strategically, keyword there, strategically cut products, strategically cut part of the services that you deliver, or strategically cut out time spent on tasks that don't produce much, et cetera, right? Fill in the blank, strategically cut out those 80% of things that aren't really being that, efficient, right? You should focus on cutting out the inefficiencies in your life and in your business so you can get more done in less time and be more profitable, help more people with less products or even less parts of your service delivery or offer, right? And it also means that you should double down on the 20% of things that you've identified are the most meaningful, the most profitable, the most productive, and the list goes on and on. People always fight me on this. So what I did is I went through and I put some examples here. So here's some examples of the 80-20 principle in life, right? To show you that it is a real principle. Well, 80% of the earth is 80% of the earth is water and only 20% of it's land. 80%, that's supposed to say percent, 80% of the land is in 20% of the countries, 80% of sunshine occurs in 20% of the countries, 80% of snow and rain occurs in 20% of the countries, 80% of crime is committed by 20% of the people, 80% of your carpet wear, I thought this was an interesting one, happens on just 20% of the most walked on parts of your carpet. And this is prevalent. A perfect example of this is like stair carpet, right? Like carpet leading upstairs, right? Well, people tend to walk in the middle of the stairs. And funny little story, you can actually Google this just to go off on a cool little tangent. There was a really innovative company recently, I think it was like within the last decade, that recently launched, people were paying, an arm and a leg to get new carpets all the time when there was carpet wear. But this company applied the 80-20 principle to their carpet business. And so what they did is they actually helped people pay for less carpet because only about 20% of their carpet needed to be changed, right? About 20% of their carpet had 80% of the wear on it. And so if they could just pay for that 20 or maybe a little bit more, like 30% of their carpet, not only would they save money, but the company got their business, obviously. It was a really innovative way to do it. I'm getting excited about this example here. And it also, completely killed the competition because what would you rather do as a consumer, right? Replace your entire room's carpet or replace just 20% of the carpet that actually has the wear on it. So that's a really cool, innovative example that you can think of on how to apply the 80-20 principle to a business. But some other examples obviously here are 80% of the Earth's population lives in 20% of the countries. 80% of the US population lives in 20% of the states. 80% of the traffic jams happen on just 20% of the roads. 80% of the traffic jams also happen at just 20% of the day. 80% of car accidents happen in just 20% of intersections around 20% of roads. And examples of this go on and on and on and literally on and on and on. You can Google examples of the 80-20 principle in blank and a bunch will pop up. There's also a bunch in the 80-20 principle book, okay? If you're also into marketing, as I'm sure a lot of you might be, you can also read 80-20 principle sales and marketing. That's also a great book as well, but I'd recommend if you haven't yet, at least start with the normal one, just the 80-20 principle in general. That will really open your eyes to a lot of things. So you're probably sitting there thinking like, oh, wow, this is a cool concept, but like, why are you telling me this? Well, apply the 80-20 principle to your business, right? So ask yourself, what 20% of tasks do you do every day that bring about 80% of the results for your business? That's going to be a crucial question. When you answer that question, well, obviously that's really going to help you be more productive, be more efficient, make more money, etc. Also, apply the 80-20 principle to your offer currently, right? What 20% of your offer attracts 80% of clients or customers? Also apply the 80-20 principle to your service delivery. What 20% of your service brings 80% of the value to the customer or client? These are important questions to ask, so you should write them down and literally answer them right now, okay? The point is streamline everything wherever possible. Ask yourself where things, if things that you think are important actually are as important as you think that they are. Really analyze this. Simple is always better. And this is something that I haven't just like uncovered myself, although it definitely is something that I've come to myself, on my own, in my own business, in my own life. But it's something that I've read in a million different books. It's also something that literally everybody that I look up to and every mentor that I've ever had talks about. So simple is always better. Complexity and adding more is a loser's game. And if you do this, this will make your business much easier to operate, much more profitable, and much more attractive to potential clients. Therefore, now that you understand what the 80-20 principle is and how it applies to your life and your business, right? You want to apply the 80-20 principle to your online course business. You want to ask all the same questions that we just covered in that 5-minute segment there, but you also want to ask important questions specifically of your course business, right? We're going to get into 2 questions that I recommend that you ask here in a second, but also what I recommend that you do is you track everything, okay? So not only do you want to apply the 80-20 principle in your course business, but you also want to track everything and look to the data to see what that 80-20 principle is, right? Because if you track your sales monthly for each course and you literally track everything, right? What you track, you can improve. The data will show you things that you did not realize. I promise you some parts of your data will smack you in the face eventually if you do it for, extended period of time. I'm not talking about like years, right? But like if you do it for a couple weeks, couple months, and you just constantly look at the data, the numbers will show you things that will help you, okay? And this will allow you to optimize your business better. Now, you can use Excel and track it with like simple spreadsheets, or you can do what I do in a lot of ways. I don't always do this, and I literally just took these really fast on my phone. These are examples of like older courses that I was slowly optimizing. And so you'll kind of see right here. This one right here, I hit like a lull for a long time, made an adjustment right here, and I literally printed out this document. You can get this in the back end of your Udemy instructor profile for each specific course on the drop-down menu in performance. And what I did is I print these out and I make an adjustment, and then I slowly see like, did that adjustment pay off over time? Did it not, right? And I track everything. I write it down. And then as the month goes, the next month, I will reprint that out and write those same things over so that eventually I'll have like a long kind of printout of the adjustments that I've made and over time how it's affected the course sales and the course performance, right? And I do this for not just one, but a number of other courses. You can literally see this one's one that I've been making adjustments on. And then as I was making adjustments, it doesn't seem like that's paid off yet, but obviously there's not enough data yet. There's not enough months. So you want to do this. You want to track everything. There's a number of ways that you can do that, but that's definitely something that I recommend. Now, other ways that you can apply the 80-20 principle to your online course business, 2 main questions that you want to ask, but there's a number of these questions. And I obviously recommend reading that book. It's going to make a massive difference on your business and your life. But you want to ask yourself, which 20% of your courses are probably producing 80% of your sales? And I don't know why I said probably. You want to take the word probably out. You want to look to the numbers, literally look at the data, print out all your sales performance, look at all the numbers, and you will know, okay? So which 20% of your courses, or which 25% of your courses, or 15% of your courses, right, are producing 80% of your sales? Promote those courses more. Create more content around those courses if you're doing content marketing, right? Promote codes to friends and family and get more friends and family into those courses, get higher ratings on those courses, get those people to watch through them, spend more time improving these and making them better, obviously. You want to build off what's working well for you and make your good courses great, okay? This is how you get a bestseller that starts selling a lot. Obviously, you want to create it in an in-demand market, but obviously you want to improve good courses so it stays ranked long-term and you rank higher against other potential courses, okay? Now, every other instructor is not going to be constantly improving their courses like we are, right? That's what successful instructors do. But you want to assume that they're going to, right? So if you assume that they're going to, then you can compete assuming that they're going to and improve your best courses as well. And then, a couple months to a year from now, you'll look up and your course will be massive, like just a ridiculous amount better than theirs, and it won't even be a competition anymore, right? Although, on the other hand, if you don't assume that they're going to and they do improve and you don't, then obviously they're going to outrank you. So obviously most instructors won't be constantly improving and they won't be applying things like the 80-20 principle to their business, but you want to assume that they are so you're competing on that same level playing field. And chances are you'll look up a year from now and you realize nobody else really was, and you'll have the entire market to yourself pretty much, okay? Now, another great question that you should ask yourself is which 80% of your courses are producing 20% of your sales, right? So on the adverse side, right? Now, that doesn't mean that you neglect them, obviously, and we've talked about this in that 5-minute segment video that I dropped in between in this lecture about what the 80-20 principle is and how you should apply it to your life and your business. That doesn't necessarily mean that you neglect them, obviously, because if they're newer courses, you might not have enough data on them. Also, maybe they've been slowly ranking watch time wise and review wise, and they just need a little bit of push. So you don't necessarily want to just neglect them right off the bat. Make them better, obviously, if you have the time. You should always be making all your courses better. But if you do have a lot of courses, what you do want to do in this situation is you want to focus less of your time and less of your attention on these strategically, okay? Keyword there is strategically, okay? Now, if you have, assuming that you have enough time and enough data has elapsed, obviously, or enough time has elapsed and you have enough data over time, you want to assume that the market's pretty much spoken, right? That doesn't mean neglect them. That doesn't mean just completely, throw them to the wind, because that will also hurt you rating wise if you don't improve them, if you don't, update them here and there. But ultimately, understand that the market has spoken, apply the 80-20 principle to your business, and the market doesn't care that much about these, and that's totally fine, right? If it's been like a year and a course has, only sold about $30 a month on average, for example, well, then chances are that's a $30 a month course, and you need to accept that and put $30 a month of your effort into improving it, right? Not as much as you would. On the other hand, if you look down and you see like a course, if you look at the data and like over time, a year-old course has sold about $2,000 a month on average, that's pretty good for a Udemy course, right? Then obviously put more time into that and make your good course great, okay? So that's how you want to apply the 80-20 principle to your business. You want to also promote your best courses, but definitely if you haven't, please take a look at the 80-20 principle book. I'll try to attach it to this lecture, obviously, for you. It should be linked above. But if not, just go to brianguerra.com/books and you can get it there.